Facebook shares taking a dip this morning after a report that the FBI, SEC, and FTC will all join the Department of Justice's investigation into the social network's data sharing practices. Joining us now is Stephanie Mehta, Fast Company editor-in-chief, as well as tech investor and entrepreneur Elad Gil, whose new book, The High Growth Handbook, discusses managing a company from startup to IPO. Welcome to both of you. Happy 4th of July early. Elad, we've been talking about Facebook and data and the sort of mess that they got into for a while now. It hasn't hurt the stock that much. It's dipped about 2% this morning. But what's the lesson for other companies out in Silicon Valley that are a part of this data surge?
Yeah, it's a great question. Ultimately, I think this is an old story where anytime a technology company launches a platform, be it Microsoft with its OS or Facebook with its data platform, there are going to be people who end up abusing it. And in the 90s for Microsoft, that was people who built computer viruses. Today with Facebook, it's firms like Cambridge Analytica who really take advantage of the data to use it for purposes that people didn't really anticipate it being used for. And so I think ultimately every tech company really has to focus on having the right policies and procedures in place to catch these things early, to act on them, and to ultimately be able to circumvent people who are going to act badly. And that's going to happen irrespective of the platform in that era.
I mean, Stephanie, it feels like every single day we've got a story about Facebook mishandling user data and investigators getting on top of it. How does it all end? In just a series of fines or something potentially more serious?
I think that, as Elad references, I think there's going to be a seismic change among technology companies. Everyone's going to need to feel like they get ahead of this. They don't want to end up in this morass of paperwork. I mean, the challenge for Facebook is that every time they try to get ahead of the story, they only end up raising more questions than they answer. They submitted 700 pages of answers to the Energy Committee, and the headline wasn't, I mean, part of the headline was what they disclosed, but then everyone quickly went to, well, here's what they didn't answer. Here are the questions that were raised by their disclosures. So I think the challenge for a company like Facebook is, this is going to come out in dribs and drabs. They're going to keep responding, and each response is going to raise more questions. And if you're another technology company out there, you're watching this very closely to figure out how you can get ahead of the story, how you can be proactive, and how you can seem pro-consumer.
But at the same time, Stephanie, it seems like Alphabet has been under similar scrutiny over its data practices, competitive practices, especially in the EU. And they've had this sort of rope-a-dope, legal strategy where, yeah, they sort of go along with some of this. They might get hit with a fine. They're not being aggressive against governments the way Microsoft was. They haven't fallen into the Microsoft trap. Might Facebook follow a similar trajectory and just sort of duck this and continue to grow?
I think that anything is possible. I mean, Facebook has some of the best lawyers in the world working with them. I'm sure they're looking at the various companies' playbooks. Microsoft is taking a very different strategy, and I think that it's probably not the right parallel for Facebook. I think Google, Alphabet does seem like the right parallel.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.